Hi everyone, and welcome back to a video with me, Shruti. So in this video I want to speak about anchoring our eternal truth in our physical vehicle, in our bodies. And these are the initiations that we are going through now in our ascension. So, there were some things that happened with me recently, and I wanted to share what's going on through some personal examples as always. So what happened was last week, I think on Thursday, the square between Neptune and Saturn became exact, and this aspect is going to continue into the next year, 2016. But what this was about is that discernment between what is true for us and what is not, what is truth and what are just our projections. And so what was really coming up were these fears that we still hold, either in the base area or the earth star chakra. So these are the areas of our body, the chakras that are also seeing shifts. So for instance, we also have a lot of CME activity happening now. And even though I saw reports today that there was a CME, but the sun was still active, even though the plasma filament wasn't sent out. And when we are integrated at a certain level, then we can feel the activity of the sun within us as well. So I've been feeling this for the past few days especially. And what's happening is that the light of source is just coming through the crown and just grounding through us. And usually when these things happen, we can feel a lot of activity in the solar plexus, maybe the heart area, but at this time all of our initiations, they are becoming very physical. So we are feeling activity happening in the lower chakras, in the base chakra and the earth star area. So if you are feeling this as well, then this is what's going on. And some of the initiations that we are walking through, they might have been very challenging within the intense energies that we've been feeling. And what happened with me was, this was last week on the exact day when this square was activated. I was going out somewhere, and as recently we had the Paris terrorist attacks. And since then, the energy in the collective field, it's been quite dense. And you can feel it, there's sort of like this tension, these suspicions going around, and just this fear. But the thing is that on the day that the attacks happened, that night when I was sleeping, I actually had this nightmare where I was in a crowd of people and somebody pointed a gun at me and I got shot. And then I woke up and I checked on the internet, and it was on Facebook. Somebody just posted this, that about the attacks, and they just happened about 2 hours ago or something. So the thing is that I knew, because of this, I knew that it's not just the energies of my neighborhood that I'm feeling, the neighborhood and the city, because when we are these grounded pillars, then we also help with the integration and the healing of the earth and the denser energies. But because most people would be sleeping and they hadn't heard of this, so it really showed me that the work that we do is just at a much grander level than we realize sometimes. And I already knew this because I know that I do a lot of work, not just in my physical body, but the majority of the work that I do, because of my particular frequency, is about this just anchoring this higher light and integrating those denser energies and just being that vortex. So as our ascension is becoming more and more physical, then this is also revealed to us, the things that we do at a higher level as well, so that we know our own frequency better, and we know what our purpose is as well. Because the more intimately we know this, then it's kind of like the more centered we become within it. So anyway, on this night when the attacks happened, my cousin was also visiting, and she lives in France. She's studying there. and she had to go through Paris, and I think her flight was the next day. So there was a lot of this talk going around in my home, because we were wondering if the flights are if they're even gonna continue or not, and whether it was safe for her to kind of go back at this sensitive time, or whether she should stay, and things like that. Because usually, I stay away from the news, and of course one gets to hear about the bigger news that's going on, but I stay away generally from watching news, because it's a lot about sensationalism, and just the media trying to manipulate everyone through just keeping them in this game of blame, and just discussing an issue, and just discussing it doesn't really do much. We have to really look at the core of what's going on, and this is what we have created, all of us. It's not just about particular countries or race or anything like that. It's all of us as a collective, and when these events happen, then they are just a reflection, of that imbalance. So during times like this, for some of us, we can kind of absorb those energies that the collective is feeling as well. And so what happened with me was that I was just going out, and it was in the evening, I think around 5 p.m., and it was the train station. And this man just came up to me, and he just blocked my way, because I was walking to the train station, and he wouldn't let me pass, and he just kept demanding to know which country I'm from, what I'm doing in Croatia. He was screaming, and I felt his energy was just so invasive, and kind of aggressive. So I tried to kind of walk away, but he wouldn't let me walk away. So it was kind of like, I was stuck. And then he was saying something in Croatian, and he gestured like he's going to pull something out from his jacket, and I didn't know what it was, whether it was a knife or something else. So I was just in that moment. And the thing is that you can wonder, why am I going through this? Because when we are at the forefront in our ascension, and we are these pioneers, then we go through certain challenges and initiations, so that we can anchor more of our eternal self. And even a little bit of that fear that we might hold, that we have gathered from the collective, or that still remains in the collective memory, because it's not just about what's happening recently, but about the history of the planet, and how it's been all about suppression and control, and the fear that we all hold, that that if we just walk free, and we walk within freedom, and just radiate who we are, despite what's going around, that we'll be harmed. Whereas this is not true. When you are living in the material world, of course you need to take care of the body, and we do need to have some precautions, but it doesn't mean that we limit ourselves in a way that our freedom is restricted in any way. So we are always guided, and this is why it's important to be to be in tune with our guidance, and to be present in the moment, because when you are present, that's when this guidance can flow through. And sometimes you'll be guided to do things, even though maybe others don't recommend it, but they don't have this higher awareness yet. So what happened was that in that moment, then I was just there, and I felt his energy. It was very attacking, and I didn't know if he was going to just push me, because I could feel his energy, and it was very aggressive, and I could tell by looking at him that he'd been on drugs and stuff. But what happened was that in that moment, when I knew that anyway I can't get away, because I tried to walk away, I just surrendered to the moment, and I just just looked at him, and I was just there, present, and I felt something shift. And throughout it all, I was very proud of myself, because I was very calm, and but in the beginning, it was like I was just trying to get away, that whoa, this energy, and I just want to move away. But when I really surrendered to the moment, something shifted. And I felt the shift in his eyes as well, because I was just looking at him. And I wasn't answering his questions because he kept demanding to know what country I'm from, what I'm doing here, etc. And then I felt something shift, and then finally he just cursed a bit, and like, screw your president and your country, and then he just walked off. So on your ascension path, if you go through similar challenges like this, it's not always about constantly needing to heal, but it's just that sometimes we don't know how powerful we are, because true power has been missing from this planet for so long, and it was never truly fully anchored here. So when we are going through our ascension process, certain nudges like this may be needed from time to time for us to really know the truth of ourselves. Because what I felt when I had this initiation was that that maybe you project a fear, and you before it even happens, we have this fear that, oh, if I go out at this time, is it safe because things are sensitive right now, etc. And then you actually go, and the situation actually happens, and you are kind of at that threshold of actually being in that moment of physical harm. Maybe it might come to you, and you are standing in that moment, and you are kind of nudged to be fully present. And then suddenly you realize that it's not as bad as you thought before, that maybe while you were thinking about it and anticipating it, being in that state is that fear, when that fear has a grip on you. But when you are actually face to face with it, then you realize that you are not this fear, and you are just something much greater. You are much greater than this physical body as well. And of course, we always need to protect this physical body, because it's our sacred temple, through which we express ourselves, through which we are here to anchor our light. But we can always live within freedom, because when we are within that source point, within our center, and we don't let these fear-based projections that are happening maybe in the collective around us to influence us, then we are always safe, and we are always guided. So you need to take precautions, of course, but there might be instances where people say to you, they have a different opinion, like they don't think it's safe to do something, but your heart tells you otherwise. And when we are grounded and in our source vortex, then we will be shown what's the right directions for us, what's safe and what's not. So that's what I wanted to say, that we can't just submit to these fears, because this is what's been happening for eons now, and these timelines are changing, and that is why all of these chaotic things are happening on the planet as well, because there's this purging that's happening, and it's meant to bring stuff out so that we can then embrace the truth. So the other way in which we are anchoring our truth in the physical is also happening through the soul codes that are coming in now. And this is also because of the sun activity, like I was sharing before, and that are coming straight from the galactic center. And so what's happening is that things are coming to a completion, and we are getting the last missing pieces. So for instance, over the past few months, you might have been having these initiations into your truth, and especially related to your frequency, which aspect of creation, which realm is home for you. And of course, for all of us, it's always source that's home. But what I mean is, when we are all sparks of source, but when we are expressed into creation through source, then we have our own kind of unique light and our own variation of creation. So soul codes about this were coming through over the last few months, especially, and we were being grounded in that truth. And for many of us, maybe certain situations were brought to us where it was shown that we had a certain idea about our truth, and it wasn't so, and it was because we were latching on to somebody else's truth, what they were projecting perhaps. But things hadn't fully come together until now, and now those quotes that were coming through, they are really being grounded at a very physical level as well. So we are, as we embrace these, we are feeling like we are very anchored within it, and we can kind of go ahead to the next level, to the next phase of our life with it, and really live this truth as well. And it's not just at a knowing level that we know something, but we express it, we radiate it, and we live it, and we anchor it. So with this comes this great feeling of completion and this return to source, return to home as well. So you might be experiencing that feeling of completion within yourself. So I hope that this video was helpful. Basically, what's going on is this great merge of spirit and matter, and how we are just getting to know ourselves at a more intimate level, just that eternal self. And you are really doing much more than just integrating yourself, because as we integrate this light, it's just helping the planet so much as well. Because when we anchor this real power and this real truth, truth with a capital T, we are really bringing heaven to earth, and anchoring these levels that never have been on the planet at this scale. So that's all that I wanted to share with all of you. And I also might have a meditation related to this that can help us with this merge that's happening. So watch out for that if you're interested. And that's it from me. I'll see you next time.